white people are 12 times as likely to be killed by a black person than the other way around. I'm just going to shoot you straight. It's not even close.
Where?
Across the country.
Ain't nobody coming after you. You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody tripping on you. But these people in just as scared as the other folks. That
they are if they get on a bus.
Not necessarily.
They are if they get on a train.
That lady wasn't in danger because that man was black. That lady was in danger because that man was crazy.
Nope.
Whenever we want to ask for equality and fairness, it's a problem. So white America.
So it spends several $1 trillion. When is it enough?
Where's the bird?
No.
Where's the bird? You're not stopping white America from doing anything.
You know what? The bird just burned down $4 billion worth of cities and 60,000 assaults.
What is going on, guys? Hey, I wanted to come back to you, and I wanted to bring an episode featuring Steven Crowder. And Steven Crowder, he has gone back to doing his personal interviews with folks on the streets with the change my mind issues on college campuses, and where he goes into black barbershop. And he has open, honest, very candid conversations with folks. And again, these conversations, they're uncomfortable to have. But again, this country, our country, is on the brink of civil war. And we have to have these open, candid conversations. Because if we don't, we find ourselves in civil war, every single person in this country is going to suffer. But guys, watch.
Have you guys heard of the term black fatigue? Mm-hmm. Yeah. You guys know what that means?
Since the last time you came, that's become a thing.
Yeah, I was about to say, that's just become a recent thing.
And do you know what it means?
No, I'm not sure what it is.
It's a term that's being used by people in the white community, by and large, again, saying they feel like they've been victimized and they're tired of taking that shit. You know, that was a girl who was dying alone in public. And that was a guy who was let out 14 times, including violent crimes in the name of racial justice, right? He didn't have to post bail. He didn't have to appear back in court. This is not the first time he's assaulted someone.
How do we know that was in the interest of racial justice as opposed to just being
because the judge said it.
A fucked up attempt at justice, period.
Yeah.
Like, the legal system has its flaws.
Yeah.
And people have been making complaints about that for decades, right? But that's just, to me, that's a mental health thing more than it's a black and white thing.
Well, I'll tell you why, because white people are saying it now.
Right.
Not just white people are saying, hey, we're in
what makes it a bigger thing.
Well, because, white people are 12 times as likely to be killed by a black person than the other way around. I'm just going to shoot you straight. It's not even close.
Where?
Across the country.
Where? Not in
the United States. I mean, we're not talking about Ghana. Yeah.
What I'm saying is, in white communities or in quote unquote so-called white communities,
across the country, the rate is a black man or person, because most murder is men. There are very few female murders. 12 times more likely to kill a white person the other way around. And then you look at the average amount of times that someone in this country is arrested before they're brought in for killing, charged with murder. Do you know how many times they're arrested on average before they murder? 11 times.
Once again, the justice system's got its flaws, and people have been complaining about that for years. We spend more time trying to fix that than trying to complain about the white versus black of it all.
Well, I think, just like I was trying to listen to all communities last time, I think this is something that's unavoidable. If this community, if enough white people get pissed off, they're going, look, we're living in New York now, we're getting killed in record numbers, or Detroit, 12 times the rate. And our system, 3 strikes in California, right? That was a 3-strike policy. The reason that was changed, they said it was racist. Crime went down in black communities 30%. But now people are looking at their cities going, this is a fucking hellscape. And the murder is skyrocketed because people said in the name of racial justice, like, 3 felonies, you're out.
Now, again, we can't avoid the issues. We can't. I mean, again, white people are 12 times more likely to be killed by a black person than the other way around. I mean, again, you can't avoid that. You can't avoid that. Take, for instance, the case in Charlotte, North Carolina, where a black man killed a white woman on the train, stabbed her to death. He shouted, "I killed that white girl. I killed that white girl." Now, he was arrested 14 times prior. And he shouldn't have been out of prison. He should have still been in prison. Why wasn't he? Well, because the judge, a female black leftist judge, let him out of prison if he said he would appear in court, if you promise, baby, that you're going to appear in court, we'll let you go. He was let go. And then shortly thereafter, he killed that white woman on the train. He was let out, according to the judge, in a case of restorative justice. In other words, he was let out because he's black. That was it.
That's not representative of a whole.
It's not. It's
Right?
not. No, and look, we always have to say not all.
Right.
Like not all white people wear MAGA hats and are dumbass pieces of racist shit. But we have all been accused of racism, sexism, misogyny, homophobia. What I'm saying is black fatigue is white people going, you know what? I know I'm not racist. And I know that we're dealing with record crime, and I know that I'm more at risk, and they have negative interactions, and they're constantly told that they're not allowed to voice their fucking opinion because they're white. And if those people get pissed off, like that's where we actually could end up with some kind of, I'm telling you, I see this brewing. I see people who were milquetoast white suburban who are becoming actually racist. Now, not all of them, but I've seen people actually become racist because they get mugged, their store gets looted, and nothing gets done. They're going, and if I say something, it's turned into a racing. I'm telling you what, that's where it's coming from. At what point do we have a talk and go like, okay, let's reform justice, but we have to be honest as to why it was reformed in the first place. This guy, it's not even the only one. It's every 3 days someone's being offed.
Yeah, but at the same time, let's transfer that over to, I mean, there's a lot of unsafe things in this world. Like getting mugged by a black person is not the paramount unsafe thing. There's school shootings, there's road rage, there's all of that shit.
Yep.
And the primary people that commit a lot of those are people who don't have this skin.
No.
So if switch it over, if black people say, well, we getting fed up and we tired of all these school shootings and all of these road rage and all that, who do we say something to? Who hears our voice?
And when does the white fatigue kick in?
And when does the white fatigue kick in?
Well, we've been hearing
Who
about
hears
white,
us?
that's the point, right? We've been hearing about it all our lives, about white fatigue, about systemic discrimination.
But nothing's
I'm
ever
Canadian,
been
right?
done. That's the
You're
problem.
correct. It
It's
has
still
been done.
here.
That's why we've done systemic justice reform that has led to more crime, right? That's the reason for no three-strike policy. That's the reason for cashless bail. That's the reason for catch and release. The reason for it, in the wake of Black Lives Matter, George Floyd riots, Summer of Love, was we're going to reform crime, we're going to reform the justice system, and it's gotten worse everywhere it's been. And then when white people leave those neighborhoods, well, now it's white flight. If they come in, it's gentrification. And I'm telling you, there are a lot of people who are pissed off, and they're not going to sit down and have this conversation and be real about it. And they're going, well, what happens when someone has to keep their mouth shut about everything?
When's it going to be white fatigue? What are you talking about, man? White fatigue? There's been white fatigue for years and years and years. I mean, again, if you're white, you can't say something. If you're white, you can't speak up. And again, we need to blame the white supremacy for the violence in this country. And again, it doesn't occur. It does not occur. You're not going to be chased down and lynched and strung up in a tree or whatever because you're black. It's not happening. It's not happening. Now, I'm not saying there haven't been cases in the past of whatever. But again, nowadays, man, the last 50 years, what's happening in this country? Again, you're 12 times more likely to be killed by a black person if you're white. 12 times. Again, those numbers are huge. If they were happening the other way around, oh my God, we'd be hearing about it every damn day on the mainstream media. But it's not happening. It's happening the other way around. But again, they don't want to talk about that because they don't want to have accountability for themselves.
The reason for it, in the wake of Black Lives Matter, George Floyd riots, Summer of Love, was we're going to reform crime, we're going to reform the justice system, and it's gotten worse everywhere it's been. And then when white people leave those neighborhoods, well, now it's white flight. If they come in, it's gentrification. And I'm telling you, there are a lot of people who are pissed off, and they're not going to sit down and have this conversation and be real about it. And they're going, well, what happens when someone has to keep their mouth shut about everything?
Nobody tell you have to keep
That's
your
how they
mouth
feel.
shut.
That's how they feel.
I don't believe white people have to keep their mouth shut. I think white people don't speak up about a lot of the things that they do and they perpetuate that affects us negatively. That's the stuff that nobody wants to. That the issues aren't made about those things. I really respect the platform that you have because you do have open and honest conversations. And I have to say, I don't believe that those numbers about the black people murdering white people are correct. I don't believe those numbers
They
are
are.
correct.
What if they are? What if I'm not lying to you?
If you're not, then I've been misled and I've been isolated from realistic numbers. But I know in this country, from the time that we got here and until now, there's never been hordes of black people that just go out and maraud and menace white people. Interactions happen and things do occur. I'm not saying that they don't, but not by and large in number. We can't be this small a percentage of the overall population and still have the numbers that people try to perpetuate on to us. See, black people do more harm to other black people than we do to other white people.
Well, that's true. That's true.
You know, so
because people who are close. That's
And
true.
we also have historical evidence of groups of white people attacking and chasing black people.
So it's
coming after.
So
Like,
when people
we have
say
historical
It's not
evidence
happening
of it.
now.
So when
I'm just saying.
And that's the point. Is we're at a precipice right
That's
now.
a part of the historical condition.
Well, sure, but someone today.
Hold on.
Yeah,
I wasn't
Big
finished
Mike,
making
go.
my point.
Sorry,
I wasn't finished making my point. You know, when like I said, black fatigue, that's the newest mantra that's been put out into society to make people think that, okay, they tired of black people. They tired of what you said, that we can't say anything about black people. We can't do. Well, when you hold all the power, when you hold all the economic rights, when you hold all the things that make this country move, when you're in charge of those things, you know what I'm saying? Well, you know what? I put it like this. White people got the firecrackers, we got the stem. That's it. Y'all got the power. The power is placed outside of the black community. We're charged with all the negative things. Those are the things that are really generally coincide with how people relate to us. The bad stuff that's go wrong with this world is the black people's fault. We the smallest part of this country. Remember that. You know what I'm saying? Beside the immigrants that come here, we have been tasked with the negative, the criminal, the immoral. That's us, and that's what we consider. That's white fatigue. But you know what we do? We just say that's just how it's always been. So we don't make up words for it or terms for it. So now you have a frustrated group of white constituents that feel like, oh, we can't say anything. We have to do this. We have to do that, so you don't be deemed as that. Well, if you wasn't that in the beginning to start with, there would be no need for the reform or the feelings that you have. You can't say anything about, because you done treated us like for so long, and people finally stood up and said, hey, you got to stop treating us like shit. Now that you want to feel like, you know, things aren't going in the manner that you want them, now we want the right to keep.
You got to remember, black folks are a small portion of the U.S. population. Yeah, we know. We know that. And again, that's what the issue is. When you have 13% of the U.S. population that commits the vast majority of violent crime, that is what the issue is. I mean, again, you're 12 times more likely, if you're white, to be attacked by a black person than the other way around. So again, we got to be honest about that. And yes, black on black crime has definitely increased. And again, majority of that is an outcrop of what Lyndon Baines Johnson did back in the 60s. Again, he paid the welfare system. He paid black mothers not to have fathers, not to have husbands in the home. And again, it worked. And we saw less and less fathers. We saw more and more crime. And we saw more and more imprisonment of black people. Why? Because again, they weren't being raised right at home. And it's still not happening. I mean, again, you have to admit, when you have 13% of the population committing the majority of violent crime, it's really less than that. Because the majority of violent crime is committed by young black men. So you're looking at about 5-6% of the U.S. population commits the majority of violent crime. And again, that's a you problem. That is a problem that you had to face yourself. I mean, and again, people have got to be asked about, if they can't be asked about what is happening, if we can't be asked about it, it's never going to be fixed. Why? Because again, we're not looking at what the actual problem is. Again, we're looking at blaming whoever else. Blame Whitey over there for the problems. You know, there was slavery. There was slavery 200 years. Yeah, I know. I get that. And that was wrong. But what are we doing now? What has been happening the last 50 years? What's been going on? And again, that's what has to be honestly addressed.
What if your premise is completely flawed? And what I mean by that is, if we're trying to understand it, you said you have power in all those institutions.
Yes.
What if, for example, you have an entire generation of people, young white men, women, who if they apply to a college or apply to a job, they don't have a grant, there's no Pell Grant, there's no type of subsidy, there's no DEI initiative. As a matter of fact, they're likely to be passed over. They hold no institutional power. And when you say black people haven't done anything, when you think of this white person, a young white person, because I'm seeing some people become radicalized and it can become a problem. Yeah. And then they see billions of dollars and riots and damages all summer long, and then they go, why is this happening? Black Lives Matter, right? So they're gonna make that connection. Now they have no institutional power, but if they go into a neighborhood that's largely black, they're gonna get the shit kicked out of them. And they're being blamed for something that supposedly their racist forefather did that they have nothing to do with. You think we're ever gonna have unity? This is the problem. Unity, if let's say your dad's a or your grandfather's a and you walk up and you slap his teenager, you now have made that person hate you for life. And that's what I'm seeing with not even my generation. Younger people are going, I had nothing to do with this shit. They came up during the riots. They've come up under DEI, and they're seeing a 12-time murder rate, skyrocketing crime, and any proposals they make not holding institutional power shut down as racist.
Now, why was DEI even instituted in the first place? Because for the majority of time that black people have been in this country and been free, we've been denied so much. Somebody somewhere had to put some things in place to provide access of some kind.
If you believe that, that's fine, but you can't tell that young white kid who had nothing to do with it that he should just sit down and take it, especially when they're getting killed at 12 times a day.
That's what America's been telling us for the longest.
The young white man that has to
not in my
deal with the
lifetime.
DEI, the young person of this generation that you said that feels they're misled by the being mistreated by the DEI.
I'm just using it as an example. They don't hold any institutional power. Young white people don't. They don't have an advantage.
Not yet, because they're young white people. They have an advance to where they're middle-aged white people, where the power comes. See, what black people, once again, when you got colleges that denied access to black people, you can't come here. Something had to be put in place. Well, look, y'all got to let some black people come in. Y'all can't just
that started happening long before DEI.
But see,
long before black people were admitted into colleges, HBCUs.
Hold on, let me say what I'm trying to say.
My bad. My bad, I'm trying to make it clear.
He's trying to do a senior Wences and talk through you. So
Well, because you trying to.
No, I get it.
DEI is just a new way of wrapping affirmative action.
Yeah.
Affirmative action had to be put in place because there was the access being denied. So somewhere, the legislation had to be put in place. Well, look, we can't just exclude all of them. So somewhere along the line, they have to be allowed some access. Okay, that was put in place. Now, fast forward till now, those same things that are put in place for those people back in those generations that are still in place, they're not excluding people from getting to places they're just still trying to keep those doors open so that those black people that were coming through that door can still get in. Because if you remove those, over time, we will be denied the access again.
If a black person has a lower SAT,
It's illegal to discriminate against anyone based on the color of their skin, except if you're white or Asian. Then you can. Then you're allowed to. I mean, again, you didn't have to have policies that gave preferential treatment to black folks. You know, they could score less to get into college. They could score less on their SATs and get into college and jump over the top of a white or Asian person. And again, that's what the problem is. It wasn't fair. It wasn't equality. It was equity. And equity isn't fair. You know, again, we have to understand that. We have to understand what equity really is. Again, you're allowing, because you're trying to make up for the sins of the past or whatever. So what you're doing is you're allowing black people access to something with less scores on their SATs or less experience or whatever. That's what you're allowing to occur. You're not allowing them, we got to open up the doors for black people. So you're opening up the doors for black people saying, no, we can't discriminate against anyone based on the color of their skin. Now, you can discriminate based on their test scores. You can discriminate based on their experience. But see, now they won't allow that. They're like, oh, no, we need 5% more black people or 10% more black people. So what do? Well, we have so many open spaces in the school. So what we're going to do is we're going to allow certain black people to jump in the line over the top of other people. You're trying to make it for the past by discriminating in the present. And again, you can't do that.
In the black community, I'll be the first to acknowledge, we do have intractable problems that are not going to be solved in one conversation. But what I'm going to say about that, as well as the reason why the black community becomes so infuriated, all right, is when you see gross negligence of justice or misjustice happening and nobody does anything. When this guy kneeled on this man's neck, was going back to George Floyd, look, if he had done something, when he was subdued and on the ground, what was the real reason for kneeling on his neck except to inflict fatal harm? What was it?
I can tell you exactly what it was, and I can tell you why you're not recognizing the problem. Because the opinion polls, and I'm not saying right or wrong, the opinion polls have changed on George Floyd since I last spoke with you. You know why?
Why?
All the body cam footage came out. You know what? You know why? Because he was there for 12, 15 minutes, asked to be put in the car. They put him in the car, asked for air conditioning, gave him air conditioning, asked to be taken out of the car. They took him out of the car. He wouldn't stop moving. People have watched it now and go, you know what? It's not what I thought it was. You know how many times he was arrested before that? 9. He shouldn't have been. You know what would have saved him? 3-strike policy. He robbed a woman at gunpoint with a child in the house. And so white people look at it, young white people, right, who you have to understand during COVID, this is a whole generation of people. White people did not have any fucking opportunities during COVID. They didn't get to go to the graduation, college, black, white, all of them, right? It's a generation that's pissed. Rightfully so, they got screwed. I think we can agree on that. They're going, I watched my city burn down for a guy who was arrested 9 times and committed violent crimes against women. What?
Now, you know, let me
That's
say,
a travesty of justice. He shouldn't be out in public.
Let me say this to you.
How many felonies does President Trump have on his record? Yeah, he was still allowed to
None.
occupy the most.
No criminal felonies.
He has no criminal felonies, but he's got moral felonies, which would, if there was a court of justice for that, he probably would be tried a long time ago. I mean, let's talk about it.
Is this where we all get on board with crazy white bitches who accuse men of rape?
No,
like,
not
I
at
thought
all.
we find she accused 26 men of rape, that
Not
crazy
at all, but
broad.
here's the reality, though. And when you look at the convergence of this new agenda, where you're going strictly in the blue cities, why is it that most of those blue cities also happen to be occupied? The areas they're going in are heavily occupied by minorities. Why is that so?
Well, black people tend to vote Democrat, and they're run by Democrats. Detroit, you can look at it. You can look at Chicago. Is that what you mean?
I mean, no, that's not what I'm asking you at all. What I'm asking you is, like I said, with this all-out assault right now, just last night they were talking about something in Chicago, right? But
Yeah.
1 o'clock in the morning, you had people in military gear, what have you, helicopters and all this kind of stuff like this here, not just knocking doors down, but dragging people out.
Because it's the murder capital of the country. You just said black people are more harmed by this. We don't want to take out murderers?
No. I think really what true is you're confusing what I'm trying to say to you.
Are you want the National Guard in Chicago?
No, what I'm trying to say to you is this, though. If we're going to talk about the problem, let's talk about the problem in its totality. The fact about it is, when you talk about white America being pissed, white America is going to always find a reason that doesn't fit their narrative or what have you. But what white America fails to talk about, and what never ceases to amaze me, is the fact that the biggest threat is not going to come from blacks. The biggest threat is coming from within. You look at the average person that's been committing some of the most heinous crimes over the days, it's 22 to 29-year-old white males, right? Look at how ready they were.
It's just not true, man. Violent crime, you just said, like you said, a small percentage of the country, about 12 to 13%, 50% of the violent crime, but the murder, a 12 times likelihood.
That's a skewed
If you just, so you don't listen to them?
No, I said that particular stat is skewed.
It's not skewed.
You know, the one guy was saying that white folks, again, they're going to shape things in such a way. So if they don't like it, again, they're not going to, they're going to change it. They're going to make it look like something else. You know, again, that's what you're doing right here. That's what you folks are doing. Again, you're saying that those stats, those facts are skewed. They're not real. It doesn't matter what the Department of Justice says. It doesn't matter what some black professor, liberal black professor at Harvard, it doesn't matter what he says. And it doesn't matter that he had to hire personal security to walk him around in stores because get the outcome of his research. It doesn't matter. You know, again, the guy he's Uncle Tom. I mean, it can't be right. None of this could be right. None of these facts, none of these stats can be right. And again, the reason why you do that is because you're trying to change what's happening. You're not wanting to look at what's happening. You're wanting to get, again, well, that's not right. I'm not even listening to that. I'm getting away from that. It's skewed. It's not real. And again, that's the way to avoid any kind of accountability for anything going on within the Black community. That's what's happening. And again, you know, I mean, who do you listen to? Who do you listen to? Who do you think is important? Well, again, we listen to the Black leadership, you know, the Ben Crumps, the Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton. We listen to those folks. And again, Jesse is pretty much stepped off the stage. But Al Sharpton, he's still there. He's still there, and that's who we listen to. You know, again, you call Trump a con man. You call Trump an instigator. Look at Al Sharpton. Look at his past. I mean, again, this man was in so many scandals. I can't even name all of them. But again, I remember seeing all those when I was younger. I'm old enough to remember. I am old enough to remember Al Sharpton when he was involved with every damn thing. I mean, again, we're talking about Chubby Al, you know, big old fat Chubby Al, back from years ago. Yeah, that Al. You know, that's what I still think about. And you talk about Trump. You know, like, well, you know, Trump's got all these criminal felonies or whatever. No, he doesn't. Not one. Not one. You know, well, morally, he's wrong. Morally. Again, first of all, no, he's not. Everything was skewed against him. But you say, well, you know what? I mean, again, the facts. We can sit there and lay out the facts of what's happening. And we can lay out the stats. We can lay out every damn thing. But again, you're not going to believe it. Because again, you know, Joy Reid from MSNBC, again, she's off now. But, you know, again, the last so many years, Joy Reid said so. You know, Abby Phillips on CNN, she said so. No. Again, Don Lemon said so. No. Why don't you look at the actual facts? Oh, yeah, no. Those aren't real. Okay. Again, no accountability at all.
That is skewed.
It's not skewed. These are from the FBI, DOJ. And you know what else we look at? We look at Roland Fryer from Harvard, who conducted it, black professor, really respectable guy, honorable man, conducted a study, and he came out and he said, yeah, all of my research says that black men are 0% more likely to be shot by police officers than whites. Black people got so mad at him, he reconducted the study, a black man from Harvard, and he came to the same conclusion, and now he's not black enough.
Wait, so let me see if I understand you clearly.
Yeah.
You're saying, according to this guy's statistics, right, that black people are 0% less likely to be shot by a white police officer.
A liberal professor at Harvard, yes, and he conducted it twice. Because black people said what you're saying. He goes, look, I was as surprised as you. I was trying to find how much worse it is. My data showed me it's not. He reconducted the study an entire time. Now, he did come to the conclusion that an officer is 18 times more likely to be shot than a black man by an officer. This is a... I agree, you can't legislate what's in a man's heart.
Yeah.
But you can't throw out everything. You can't go, that's skewed. That black guy from Harvard who was always a liberal who did it twice, it's skewed. You can't throw it out.
How often do you see black police killing unarmed white people?
Actually,
how often do you see that? How often do you see that?
Well, I tell you, actually the stats show that when you're dealing with armed white people versus black armed people, white armed people are more likely to be shot by the cops than black.
White armed people are more likely to kill police officers. Look at what happened in Kansas where those 5 police officers.
Let's call the stats a wash on that. Here's what I do know. Everyone wanted the body cam footage, and I agree. I was like, we should have body cam footage. We should have accountability for police officers, right? And we were to believe after the era of, remember, we went through Trayvon Martin, Tamir Rice, Mike Brown, obviously George Floyd. There were so many that you could use as examples. We thought that we'd have a rash of body cam footage showing us the police brutality. You haven't seen body cam footage of note in the last year. Once that footage came out, it's about a 20-to-1 ratio where you see someone getting violent with an officer. We have not seen what we thought we would see. And now people are going, okay, so maybe not the body cam footage, right? We thought we'd see all the abuse.
Wait a minute.
Reflects
Before
the
you
stats.
jump off of that point, what about the body cam footage where we see white people and white police and the white citizen is being belligerent with the police, but the police showing extreme restraint in dealing with that person. Whereas black people, we reach for your wallet, bow, you get shot. I got a phone in my hand, bow, you get shot.
And
I'm not doing anything.
And
bow, you get
The
shot.
stats don't reflect it. But
here's the
white
thing.
people are being killed in record numbers right now, and they're pissed.
You know, the body camera footage of so many cops show what's really happening. Again, people don't like it. They don't like it because, again, people thought, well, you know, black people, they're being oppressed. They're being, again, beaten, shot, whatever, by the police. They're being treated unfairly. And again, that largely is not being shown. It's not. What's being shown, for the most part, is black people out of freaking control. And it shows a lot of black people being just absolutely nasty with the cops. And the cops showing resounding restraint. Again, these people, they're being nasty. They're acting nasty. And white cops, again, and black cops, but especially the white ones, they're in fear of losing their jobs for doing their job. And again, majority of them, there are some, I'm not saying there aren't any, but very few that are doing what they thought they would catch a lot doing. There are very few, very, very few that are actually breaking any kind of law and being unfair.
Let's be honest, man, and let's be really truthful with one another. Ask yourself, what do you expect when you look at architectural oppression, economic depravity, and social disparity? What would you call it? I mean,
Bad decisions.
Huh?
Bad decisions.
Bad decisions.
Yeah, I think right now in 2025, it's bad decisions. I think everyone can make better
And you
decisions.
know what? I'll even go here with you. In all fairness, I think that's absolutely true. So my question for you is, how do we move past this?
Yeah. Okay.
How do we move past
I agree with you. I agree. And I think maybe we'll find some common ground here. If we agree there is personal accountability and bad decisions, and I think we also all agree that feminist white are the worst demographic in the country, along with lesbians.
There's a great book that says, and they were her property. See, that's what I'm saying.
Like I'm telling you, like believe me, I don't have a. Hold on. Let me just clarify, and I mean that. Angry white feminist bitches and lesbians, because if they didn't vote, we wouldn't have half of the shit. But, and this is one thing I appreciate about black men, that white men are so, black men can talk about these things, and black men are okay being masculine. White men are told it's sexist. There's a lot there. Personal accountability decisions. Now, just take that and apply it. What you kind of just did here is you blamed white people, without realizing it, for systemic discrimination, and that removes autonomy from a white person to be accountable and also rewarded for their good decisions. So if we agree it's bad decisions, personal accountability, we'd all be against reparations, and we'd all be against the criminal justice reform.
I'm definitely for reparations.
I'm for reparations.
See, that to me, you said excuse.
Yeah.
That sounds like an excuse to me.
You ain't paid me back. You ain't paid me for what you owe me. It's
What did I take from you?
You can't start another bill
What did I take from
until
you?
you pay this old bill.
What did I take from you?
You didn't take but your ancestors.
But you just said you.
Well, when I say you, I meant it as a euphemism.
But can you understand why white people hear it and get pissed off?
Yeah.
Because I can take shit.
First of all, man, I agree with Steve. I agree fully with him. When it comes to the worst demographic in this country, at least when it comes to voting, yeah, white, fat, leftist bitches with purple hair and tattoos, well, they are among the worst in this country. You gotta be honest about that. Feminism has destroyed this country. Destroyed it. Absolutely wrecked this country. And again, let's be honest about that. Let's also be honest about the fact that we are at a brink. We have come to the brink of civil war. And again, I know people want to romanticize this idea of civil war, but it's not going to look like that. It's not going to look anything like what you think it's going to look like. It's going to be bad, really bad. Again, when you're waiting to see whether or not you can drink the water coming out of your faucet. Because again, it's going to make you sick or it's not. You have no idea. Again, that is what civil war is going to look like. When you're waiting to see if your power is going to come back on that week, that is what civil war is going to look like. When you're waiting to see if you can buy gas, even 3 or 5 gallons at the gas station, after you're waiting in line for several hours. That is what civil war is going to look like. When you're waiting to see if you can buy food at the grocery store. Yeah, that's what civil war is going to look like. Again, if you're sitting there saying, like what that one black guy was saying to Stephen, you owe us, you owe black people. What do I owe you? What do I owe you for? Well, again, we were slaves. Okay. If I owe you for that, do you owe me for being part of this country? Do you owe me because I'm white? Because I'm white and this country was founded and built by white men. Again, do you owe me for being part of this country? Do you owe me for all the inventions that made your life a little bit better? You know, again, if you want to measure things out, weigh things, maybe, just maybe, you owe us. You know, again, look at all the programs, all the money that's been pumped into black communities from federal dollars that have been paid in taxes by a majority white people, white men. Maybe, just maybe, you owe us. But again, nobody is responsible for what anyone of their race does, especially when we're talking about years and years ago. Nobody. I mean, again, if you want to play the route, maybe black people, because they commit the majority of violent crime in the country, maybe they owe because of that. Maybe all black people, they owe. And again, you wouldn't get anyone. You would not get anyone that would agree with that. So again, why don't you shut your mouth and be grateful for the country you live in? If you guys would, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment down below. Thanks.